Hello, this is psychicpodcasts.com. I'm Psychic Sahar.
Penny Kelly, author of The Elves of Huneidi-Palmer, welcome back.
Welcome. It's good to be back.
Thank you. In a previous podcast, we discussed your first book, The Evolving Human, and the Kundalini Experience. This podcast, I would like to discuss your second book, The Elves of Huneidi-Palmer. If I may quote from your book's description, it's mentioned, it's a powerful story of one woman's discovery that nature is full of small intelligences that can be communicated with. Now, Kelly, you believe that there are elves. Can you tell us how so?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I will shorten it by saying that because of my Kundalini experiences, which we talked about in the last conversation, I have this very wide range of frequencies that I operate at. Elves are simply other forms of being at other frequencies. So when I first met them, I didn't see anything. I just could hear these little voices, and they were very distinct. It wasn't that they were vague or anything like that. And they kept engaging me in conversation, and eventually I came to be able to see them. It was really a very moving experience in many, many ways, because I did not believe in elves before that.
Right. So as a result of your experience, we can say that even the brain structure has changed, that you're now able to perceive other frequencies, to use your word, or fields that you were not able to perceive before.
That's right, and I would just add that elves are not the only other beings out there. There's a whole world of intelligent beings.
If I may explain to our listeners, would you agree that everything in the universe, human beings or otherwise, has a frequency? I mean, it is simply their consciousness. And if we tune our mind, we are able to communicate with other frequencies.
That's right. That's exactly right.
What are elves, Penny? How do you define elves?
Someone asked me that question once in a radio interview, and I was absolutely stumped. And I ended up going back out to talk. The elves that I came to know, and I've now been in relationship with for 16 years, I asked the elf that I usually communicated with, his name was Alvy, what is an elf? Someone asked me what an elf is. What should I say? And he said, tell them, we are the intelligences that manage your trees, your flowers, your vegetables, your fruits, and we have only presented ourselves to you this way so that you will recognize there is an intelligence out here to deal with.
That's marvelous.
And after a while, it was very clear to me why they were wanting to communicate with me as a channel to other humans. We did make a deal, and that deal was really forms the whole story in the book. But that was only the first 3 years of the story. And as I worked with them, I came to understand that they were concerned that we were going to destroy the entire earth, and they were wanting to work, and still are, with as many humans as possible.
That's very interesting. So it's an energy that is, perhaps, can we say, is it responsible for all the flora?
Yes, and there are numerous forms of that energy, but basically you've got the idea. When
or where did you first meet the elves, and what was the nature of the deal you made with them?
It was back in 1990. I was very concerned. I was worried. Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait, and I was about to, put an 18-year-old boy out there into the world, and I was very afraid that he was going to be drafted and sent off to fight in some distant war. And I couldn't focus on my work, and so one day I went for a walk toward the back of the farm. And I was on that walk when I first heard the voices of the elves, And I didn't say anything much at all in that first encounter. But I did say to my husband, I think I met some elves today. Following that, maybe, I don't know, I think it was 2 weeks later, I went out for a second walk thinking, I wonder if that was just my imagination or if I could contact those elves again, and went out for another walk, did contact them, ended up having an entire conversation, and ended up making a deal. We raised grapes for Welsh Foods, the big grape juice company, and we typically would get maybe 25 to 35 tons of grapes from, it's just a small vineyard. And the deal that I made was, if you prove to me if you're real by giving me 100 tons of grapes, then I will tell the world that you exist.
Wow.
So that was the nature of the deal. And then proceeded several years, 3 years worth of intense struggle with this whole concept and all of the things that they introduced and all the things that I learned and the concepts and everything. It was just a marvelous experience.
That's amazing. And briefly, I mean, can you tell us what did you learn from the elves?
I think probably the most important thing is that we are meant to communicate with nature, that we're meant to work with nature, that nature has a vision that it wants to share with us, and that's on what I'll call the vision side. But on the what I'll call the down-to-earth practical side, I learned about the nature of the soil. I learned how the soil health and the health of the human body are almost exactly the same. A body needs calcium to be healthy. The soil needs calcium to be healthy. Magnesium, all the same things that the soil needs to grow healthy plants are all the same things that the human body needs.
Absolutely.
And then I think probably the most amazing was I learned about a whole new level of communication that I called a whole new use of power, the ability to communicate and ask nature to do what you would like it to do.
That's really interesting. I mean, of course, as human beings, the idea is that we control the planet, but really the reality is we're just other organisms that live within the earth, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. And not only that, it's interactive all the way. It's interdependent all the way.
Yes.
And we have not been communicating very well lately.
Yes, that's true. Speaking of communication, Penny, your next book, Robes, is about, we can say, is about communication with different dimensions or different frequencies. I'd love to discuss that with you through another podcast. Would you be willing to come back and talk to us?
Oh, I would be honored.
And for listeners who would like more information on Penny Kelly or the Lily Hill Farm, please visit www.lilyhillfarm.org, and that's Lily with one L. Lovely talking to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.